If this dog ends up biting me, I swear, I'm suing the entire shelter. I didn't even realize I said that out loud until the words kind of slipped right past my lips. They just escaped, like they had a mind of their own. I stood there frozen, glued to the cold concrete floor, right in front of kennel number 19. My heart thumped a little too loud for comfort. A janitor who happened to be pushing a mop nearby stopped in her tracks and gave me a look, one of those raised eyebrow kind of looks. "He's not gonna bite you," she said, her tone flat but certain. "He's just different." Different? That word echoed in the air like a whisper that wouldn't go away. I knew exactly what that meant. I'd volunteered in more shelters than I could count over the years, and different was always the word they used when they didn't want to say the truth out loud. Different usually meant, nobody wants him. Or worse, we've run out of reasons to explain why he's still here. I turned my gaze into the kennel, half expecting barking or growling, but there was nothing. Silence. The dog didn't move a muscle. No pacing, no whining, just a stare. Deep, heavy, knowing. His coat was an unkempt tangle of muted grays and earthy browns, the kind that made you wonder if he was born that way or if time had just gotten the better of him. Around his ears, the fur hung long, tangled like seaweed in the wind. Elsewhere, it was thin and patchy, giving the impression of a mop that never quite finished turning into a wolf. One of his eyes was glazed over, frosted with age and stories I'd never hear. But the other eye was piercing, sharp, the color of a late autumn leaf, golden and vivid. And in that one good eye, I saw something. It wasn't fear, and it wasn't aggression either. Maybe curiosity? Maybe a flicker of hope. I took a cautious step closer to the metal bars. Still no growl, not even a shift in posture. Just that gaze holding me steady. "What's his name?" I asked, not taking my eyes off him. The janitor looked over her shoulder. "Tag says Reggie." Came in with that name. No chip, no history, just Reggie. Reggie. That didn't feel right. Not for him. He looked more like a Winston. Or a Duke. Something regal, something with weight. But I didn't come here to rename dogs. I came because I made a promise. I told my brother, after 2 long years, that I was finally ready to adopt again. It had been 2 whole years since Rusty passed. My golden retriever. My best friend. My shadow. I didn't think I'd ever feel ready again. But they say time heals. I didn't believe it. Not until now, standing in front of this strange, silent dog. I crouched low beside the kennel door. "Hey there, Reggie," I whispered, like I was speaking to a ghost. No reaction. Not even a flick of his tail. The janitor gave me a sympathetic smile and nodded. "I'll give you a minute," she said as she walked off with her mop bucket sloshing behind her. I stayed there, crouched, still watching. Still waiting. Reggie tilted his head ever so slightly. That's when I spotted it, a small tag hanging from his collar. It wasn't the typical kind. This was a round, brass token, dulled with age, like something you'd find buried in the attic or passed down through generations. Curious, I leaned in, squinting. There was something engraved on the surface, but I couldn't quite make it out. From down the hall, I heard the janitor's voice again, faint but chilling. "That tag, it's the only reason we haven't put him down." Those words hit like a hammer to the chest. My breath caught. My hands shook slightly as I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, turned on the flashlight, and directed the beam at the tag. If you're reading this, I was loved once. A lump the size of a fist lodged in my throat. "Come on, Reggie," I said softly, blinking fast. "Let's get you out of here." He still didn't move. The janitor returned, this time with a ring of keys. She studied my face, maybe searching for any sign of hesitation. "You sure?" I nodded. "Yeah," I murmured. "He's the one." She unlocked the door. The metal creaked, and I held my breath. Reggie didn't bolt out. Didn't cower. He just stood, slow, stiff, careful. Like someone who had learned long ago that rushing never got him anywhere. Step by step, he walked out. He didn't even look back. The hallway fell into an eerie silence. Not a single bark from the other dogs. Reggie stood beside me, still as a statue. I slowly reached out and placed my hand gently on his head. He didn't move away. And then, just barely, I felt the softest brush of a tail wag against my ankle. Outside, the winter air greeted us with a crisp sting. The sun was sharp, almost blinding. I opened the passenger side door of my truck. "Up you go," I said, patting the seat. Reggie stared at it, then at me. "You're not heavy," I added with a smile. "I've carried heavier hearts." With no urgency, he climbed in, like he'd done it 100 times before. He curled into a quiet little ball, and for the first time in a long time, something settled in my chest. At home, he wandered the living room in slow loops, sniffed every corner, examined every shadow. Eventually, he found Rusty's old bed, the one I never had the heart to get rid of. "You can have it," I whispered. "Kept it clean just in case." He circled it once, then twice, then lay down with a deep, weary sigh that sounded like it came from the bottom of his soul. That night, he didn't bark, didn't whimper, just slept. The next morning, I made breakfast. Reggie didn't beg. He just sat quietly near the kitchen doorway, watching like an old friend. "You've got manners, huh?" I said, flipping the eggs. Over the days that followed, he began to shadow me. From room to room, sat outside the bathroom, walked perfectly on a leash, like he'd been doing it his whole life. I gave him a bath one morning. Beneath all the dirt, I found a beautiful coat of gold streaked with soft white. Elegant. Regal. "Still not a Reggie," I muttered with a chuckle. The vet guessed he was around 10. Maybe older. "He's seen some hard times," she said. "But he's got some life in him still." He hadn't barked. Not once. One quiet evening, I found an old tennis ball buried deep in Rusty's toy box. I rolled it gently across the floor. Reggie watched it roll, then got up, slowly, and nudged it back toward me with his nose. I burst into laughter. He wagged his tail. We started going to the park. One day, a toddler dropped his ice cream and started crying. Reggie wandered over, sat in front of the boy, and gently licked the spilled ice cream from the grass. The kid stopped crying. His mom smiled. "He's got a good heart," she said. I nodded. "Yeah," I whispered. "He really does." That night, I picked up the brass tag again. "If you're reading this, I was loved once." "You still are," I whispered into the quiet room. He placed his head gently on my foot. The next morning, I called the shelter. "I want to cover the adoption fees," I said. 3 senior dogs. In Reggie's honor. Because someone loved him enough to leave that tag, and now it's my turn. There was a pause on the other end. Then the woman said, "We just got a 12-year-old beagle in. No name. No tag. You think someone like you will come for him too?" "I hope so," I replied. "I really do." So, how did this story make you feel? If it touched your heart, please hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and share this with someone who might need a little reminder that second chances matter. And hey, if you're craving more stories like this, you know what to do, follow for more.